There is a certain type of video game that captivates with its aesthetics. They appear from time to time as if out of nowhere and can convey a feeling that few other games can evoke. These are games set in depersonalized spaces, places shrouded in fog, abandoned and lost cities, dead, empty worlds. Games in which you constantly feel like someone is watching you. When exploring such places, the feeling never leaves you that you're the only one left alive in this dead, empty world. Today, we explore games with the aesthetics of surreal, empty, and abandoned worlds. Enjoy watching. That Which Gave Chase is an experimental thriller about dog sledding, set in the vast frozen expanses of the Arctic. You play as a musher hired by a scientist who is trying to return to an expedition he previously abandoned. You are tasked with escorting him on his final journey through wild and treacherous lands. The game begins without any explanations. You find yourself on a snowy trail in complete darkness. Your dogs are resting, and the stranger you're transporting stands and waits. You pet your dogs and head off. The game explains the basic sled mechanics and gives you full control over your actions. Eventually, you climb a mountain, and the scientist says the cabin is near. You arrive at a small wooden house, but the game abruptly shifts to another moment in time. You are now following the scientist up the mountain on foot. Remember that this is just the first step. All your efforts up to this point will be matched twofold, or worse. This is always the true test. Then the game cuts again, and you find yourself hunting a deer. These shifts occur throughout the game, creating a non-linear narrative by mixing the chronology of events. Meanwhile, the scientist collects mushrooms that the deer had eaten. Suddenly, you are in a new place, a foggy forest, alone, where the game asks you to shoot deer. Or perhaps it's your choice. Throughout the game, your mission is never clearly explained beyond escorting the scientist deeper and deeper into the snowy Arctic. You'll learn not to place much trust in your senses here, least of all your memory. You arrive again at a mysterious cabin, but once more, the game shifts you to a new location. When I first came through here, I understood so very little, not unlike you. Perhaps it was vain ambition that first led me to go further than any of my companions deemed responsible. That lies in the past. I know now what my purpose is. It is the journey itself that draws us. Give your life to the pursuit of one thing, and your hard work will be rewarded. This place is the Civ. Pass through, and you shall find all your imagined woes have been left behind. But know this: the ghosts that give chase through the gray will never leave your side. No matter how far you go, the game gives you a choice, to leave or stay. And of course I intend to stay, to learn the whole truth. Have I told you what became of that deathless deer? You have not. My expedition was slipping through my fingers. We were being humiliated by the conditions, and all efforts to chart a course were fruitless. Yet somehow, these stupid creatures were able not just to survive, but thrive. The game cuts again. You're now on a vast sea of ice, lost in the white mist. You follow a deer that seems to have found you, and the scientist tells you, "One said the animal could hear the faint beating of hooves across the ice. So we cut off its ears, and we took out its eyes. Yet we emerged on the other side, and the creature was reunited with its herd, as if it knew things it could not have been taught, or used senses we could not take from it. I have brought you here for a specific purpose, so listen closely." The game suddenly turns into a chase, with a huge herd of deer running after you. You manage to escape and eventually return to the cabin, and this time, you're allowed inside. Inside, you find a note. Entrance to the eastern site, March 18th, 1892. I am not sure what purpose my writing could serve, but I still find value in it. Perhaps it is just for my own sanity. Writing helps me recall, helps me separate my own thoughts and memories from theirs. You also find drawings of the expedition and a note on the door. For the outsider, the one who is being led, we see you too. You continue your journey, but things grow even stranger. The scientist's monologues become more disturbing. The game brings you to a campfire where the scientist says, "Understand that I have been asked to play the part of the opposer. Not unlike you, I am a victim of circumstance. Now, just as I brought you here, you will bring me out." You wake up in a cave. Looking down, you realize you're sitting on a chair covered in mushrooms, and your only choice is to eat them. You leave the cave into a snowstorm, following hallucinations caused by the mushrooms. You find your sled, but without the dogs. Along the way, you find each one, and eventually reach the final cabin, where you're met by the bodies of previous victims and a note. I've had so much time to think without arriving any closer to truth. None of us are fully lost. We are still here, content with reliving the past through its eyes. It has shown me answers to questions long sought. I no longer recall how to ask my own. He wishes to bring it out, to let it do there what it has done here. I prepare for one final journey and pray it leads me elsewhere. You hitch the dogs and try to escape, but the scientist catches up and a shootout begins in the snowstorm. You defeat him, take his flask, and drink from it. You return to where you started, but now with the scientist's corpse. The game leaves many questions. Your companion, the eerie scientist in glasses, was once a member of an expedition in this Arctic region. Upon arriving, they discovered strange mushrooms that made the local fauna extremely aggressive. Every member of the expedition sampled the mushrooms, and the scientist developed a kind of messianic complex from the experience. He began killing his companions, believing the visions granted by the mushrooms were a divine gift to be shared with the world. So he left the region, hired you, and brought you back to introduce you to the mushrooms and test you, to see if you'd make a good apostle. He forces you forward, saying you're looking for his companions, even though they've long been dead. But you manage to pass his trial and kill the scientist in the final battle. And though he is dead, he still achieves his goal, returning an apostle from the region, one who will tell others about the mushrooms and bring a new outsider back, thus perpetuating this cycle of mushroom-obsessed madness. That which gave chase is a dark, melancholic psychological horror that plays with the player's perception, creating a surreal and mysterious experience. In the distance, figures flicker, watching as you feverishly search for the lost expedition. But they vanish as quickly as they appear. And the deeper you go into the snowy wasteland, the more you begin to question whether you truly want to see what awaits you at the end of this journey. The game begins with us inside a lighthouse in the middle of the night. We gather the necessary supplies to get it working and climb the stairs until we reach the mechanism that makes the light rotate. After turning the crank and getting the lighthouse running, all that's left is to use the oil canister to ignite the light. We are then shown a cutscene where the camera pulls away from the lighthouse until it suddenly goes dark and transitions to the present time, where we see two people heading toward the island by boat. The previous keeper disappeared, and now we must take his place. From this grim and eerie introduction, the game truly begins. We're allowed to explore the island and get used to the environment. The island we arrive on is very small and isolated. The sky is always gray and overcast. The only place that can be called home is a small wooden cabin in the center of the island. This location perfectly sets the tone for the game, creating a sense of loneliness. We really feel like we've been abandoned here with one task: to keep the lighthouse running every night. And the game does a great job of making us afraid of this place. Since the island is so small, you can literally explore it during the day in just a couple of minutes. The only other buildings you can interact with are a toilet and a shed. In such a limited space, the lighthouse is visible from everywhere. It's a constant reminder of where we'll eventually have to go once all our other tasks are done. Each day on the island brings new disturbing events, each as unpredictable as the last. 1 minute, you're finishing your duties and turning on the lighthouse. And the next, the game shows you a scene where some unidentified creature wakes up beneath one of the boats at the dock. Then it suddenly cuts to the next day. The game does this often, warning you of threats that are now present on the island, but never showing you where they are or what they look like. This builds a growing sense of tension day by day, making you feel like something bad could happen at any moment. Your daily tasks, like maintaining the lighthouse and turning it on at night, suddenly start to feel paranoid. It's as if at any moment, while you're standing and cranking the mechanism, something could run up the stairs and attack you, and there would be nothing you could do. This tension is amplified by how the game limits your vision. The old graphic style makes it so that the further an object is from you, the more distorted and pixelated it becomes, making it hard to tell what something is until you're almost too close. Another way the game restricts your view is through room transitions. Instead of just opening a door, the game deliberately uses a black screen between where you are and where you're going. These two factors create a constant sense of suspense, building up until the creature finally reveals itself. Then begins a very creepy and uniquely crafted chase scene. The way the game suddenly switches to the monster's first-person perspective as it chases you, while you're still controlling your character, is truly inventive. These chases only end when you find your way into one of the buildings on the island. Speaking of scary scenes, the chases aren't the only way the game tries to frighten you. The game is full of random events that seem to come out of nowhere. It delivers its horror with subtlety, usually letting something strange and unexplainable happen. These are the moments when the lighthouse fills with moths that start trying to get in through the glass. At first, it seems like just a few moths added for decoration. But suddenly, they become a whole swarm. And just when you think they're about to break in, the light goes out, and you're left in complete silence. These random, subtle scares do a great job of adding tension and releasing it, which the game slowly builds throughout. They scare us, but also encourage us to dig deeper and eventually figure out what's really going on with the island. Each day brings more clues that lead to something bigger, until the final day when we discover what the game's title really means. The ending of Under the Lighthouse is the most mind-blowing part of the game. Just when you start getting used to the island environment, the game suddenly throws you into a nightmarish catacomb beneath the lighthouse. The atmosphere in this new area is far more terrifying than anything on the island. While here, you must solve a series of strange puzzles while fleeing from Lovecraftian nightmares in a maze. Occasionally, this is interrupted by strange flashbacks to the island's past, before it was abandoned, when life was peaceful. In this part of the game, the visual and audio horror reaches a new level. The environment design and atmosphere make the catacombs feel almost alive, like you're inside the belly of some writhing creature. While we're down here, we sometimes see skeletons and remains of people who were brought here, just like us. The flashbacks are also very interesting. The game gives us short glimpses of how what seemed to be a normal village slowly went insane due to the entity controlling the island. We see the villagers start out acting normal, but gradually degrade, until eventually, they only speak in strange and frightening phrases. It's a fascinating way to break up the final segment, and makes us feel truly invested in what's happening here. Our curiosity builds until we finally reach the final boss. The final boss is a monster in a completely dark arena from which we must escape. If you didn't find the shotgun earlier, yes, that's right. Under the Lighthouse has multiple endings. Then in my playthrough, you get only one. If you fall into the pit in the center of the arena, either because you don't have a weapon or by accident, you get the ending where your character dies, and the cycle of sending a new lighthouse keeper continues as if you never existed. However, killing the monster at the end gives us the better ending, where we manage to escape and end up inside the village's church. There, we see what they were worshipping, a strange demonic entity hanging from the ceiling, painting the sky red. In Mourning Tide, you play as a lone fisherman who sets out to sea. The journey begins in silence. At first, everything seems normal. You cast your line into the ocean and wait. Eventually, something tugs on the line, and you catch a fish. The monotony of these actions is calming. The ocean is vast, gray, and still. Your boat creaks quietly. The sound of waves and the cold wind create a peaceful, yet slightly unsettling atmosphere. You cast the line again. But this time, the catch is different from the previous ones. Its eyes stare directly at you. Still, you cast your line again and again until you catch a stingray. Something feels off again. On its underside is a human face. The air now feels heavier. The sky, once gray, begins to change, tinted with a faint crimson hue that spreads across the horizon. The waves, which were calm just moments ago, now begin to pulse unnaturally. The silence, once routine, now feels suffocating. Every fish you catch, if you can still call them that, seems terribly wrong, as if pulled from some faraway place beyond the ocean depths. The sky changes again. The faint crimson deepens into a sickly yellow, casting an unnatural glow on the restless waves. The ocean turns blood red, and rain begins to fall. The storm rages on. You cast the line again, unable to stop for some reason. The line pulls tight, and the process becomes harder than before, as if whatever awaits below does not want to surface. And finally, it appears. You catch the body of a dead, naked woman. And at last, the final catch is an infant, bloody and screaming. Its cries pierce through the roar of the storm, and the game fades into a poem. The sea whispers secrets, tales untold, of a man undone by jealousy's plight. In mourning I sail, my guilt takes hold, a tragic tale of love turned to blight. A wife unfaithful, or so I believed. In shadows of doubt, my love I deceived. Now sailing the path where mourning does tread, for a son lost to jealousy's dread. Mourning Tide builds its horror through simplicity, using the vast, red, merciless ocean as its canvas, and the color of that ocean whispers to us the secrets of the past. A corpse leans over a well. Enchanted by the reflection of its once living flesh, it wonders what was done and what could have been, and as long as the moon shines, the illusion will not break. Thus begins Vermis, a unique artifact book, styled as an old RPG manual or a guide to a forgotten game, created by the artist known as Plastiboo. It presents a dark, mysterious world, filled with secrets, horror, and melancholy. There are 6 great gods, the 6 remaining beliefs from the Old World. The Old World is a source of mysteries and enigmas, often mentioned throughout the book. It clearly represents the dawn of civilization, but is now a distant memory of glory and prosperity. The ancient city of Orit was the heart of the Old World. While the rest of the world faded, Orit retained a sense of normalcy thanks to its location. The Great Desert, with its shifting, searing sands, protected it from many curses beyond. Yet even Orit's splendor eventually faded. Once rulers of the known world, its people now hide, and visitors are rare. As the capital, Orit is home to some of the classes players can choose. Rat men, who dwell in its sewers, or stone scholars, who reside above. We now know of 6 gods, but in the Old World, people worshipped those who have long since been forgotten. Scattered around Orit, buried in sand, lie ruins of ancient civilizations that followed these lost deities. The bones of their shrines rise and sink with the dunes that flow along the path of the immortal sun. Much of the Old World has been forgotten, and the lore keepers of Noom are devoted to recovering and preserving as much knowledge as possible. To help them, they use a relic named after the god of truth, the Eye of Dorvis. Looking through it, one can see any text in their native tongue, aiding in their mission to collect and record knowledge for humanity's future. Ironically, we know the least about Dorvis, the god. Vermis is a world of illusion, so travelers even invoke Dorvis to aid them on their journeys. One of the striking elements of the world is the Wanderer's crown, stone markers with grim faces and jagged carvings around their heads. Travelers tie hair or cloth around them to resemble a hairstyle, as a crown without hair is considered untrustworthy. The land is full of danger. One such place is the Silver Mire, a lowland swamp at the foot of hills, filled with pearly waters, weeping willows, and a silver mist, all the result of sorcery. It's believed to be a land of ghosts and shadows that drift just beyond reach. Those who never return from the mire are dead. Prolonged exposure to the mist inevitably puts one to sleep, no matter how hard they resist. Falling asleep causes disappearance, but it's not so simple. They fall into a dream. The landscape shifts, the mist vanishes, and the sand gives way to a sea of corpses stretching endlessly. The only way to escape is to defeat the Guardian, the aspect of sleep. Upon awakening, the mist disappears and the waters turn crystal clear. Another illusion broken. But the mist in the swamp isn't just a trick. Gervek the Great was a god giant, not quite a true deity, but close enough for humans to worship him as one. He protected humanity from titans, and now we see his corpse lying in the green grave near the Silver Mire. What could kill a divine giant? He slept for years on mountain tops and in deep valleys, lulled by birdsong and shrouded in silver mist. Gervek was trapped in slumber and eventually died. The mist drifted down across the landscape, settling into the lowlands of the green grave. His death was not natural, nor the result of a great battle. Sadly, the truth is shrouded in mystery. Who could have done this, and why? The clues remain unknown. In the shadow of the giant's corpse lies the Graveyard Valley, a quiet, secluded hollow filled with the dead. Beneath it lie catacombs, a dumping pit for the nameless, the shamed, and the poor. As they die, the god Gervek serves as a reminder of better times, times of peace under his protection. Vermis is a world of bitter memories. Many of the player classes are driven by them. Some use memories as a source of hope, while others have long since given up. The infant seeker is searching for their child. The lost old glory is obsessed with the heights of the past. The minor knights dig for secrets of the old world. The rat men have forgotten their human past and now live completely as rats. Likewise, the waste of life refuses to learn from their many crimes. Old Orit is surrounded by the bones of memory, rising and falling to remind all of what was lost. Goblins are trapped in place, bound by ancient vows and bitter recollections. When Gervek died, the area around him became known as the Dead Man's Garden, or the Green Grave. This forest is now sacred, and those who live there say they age more slowly. Gurvek seeks to protect humanity, even through his sacred groves. However, Gurvek is not a god of the forests. That domain belongs to the third god, Murgo Shrines, for he is the father of all that is green. Shrines to Murgo can be found throughout the forest, bearing offerings of berries, seeds, and flesh. His followers, the holy seeds, protect the sacred land. To prove their devotion, they commit acts of great violence upon themselves, seeking to witness his miraculous healing. But they could not protect the forest. It was burned to the ground. Only one follower of Murgo from this land survived, now known as the Daughter of Ash. She carries a seed that could grow into a mighty forest, a fragile hope that the greatness of the past might one day be restored. Once, there was a goblin kingdom founded by a cruel queen who fled into the forest after murdering her husband. She gave birth to 2 daughters, one beautiful, gentle, and kind, and the other a monstrous, bloodthirsty creature. The horrific child was locked in a well and fed the remains of goblins, but the other daughter grew up with a kind heart and was devoted to her people. She led a rebellion against her cruel mother and founded the Kingdom of the Green Sun, a refuge for goblins. Sadly, she contracted a rare disease, and when her life faded, her kingdom withered with her. To protect her body, a mausoleum was built around the well where her sister had been imprisoned, so they could remain together forever. Now the kingdom lies in ruins, and the only standing structure is the mausoleum, guarded by the last remaining goblins. The goblins themselves are frightened, frail creatures whose energy has long been depleted. However, threats still lurk after the son of Xenosets. Skeletons, the necromancer, the goblin knight, and the queen's monstrous daughter still hide in the crypts of the mausoleum. There is another danger, a bizarre creature called the Light Eater. A twisted variant of a goblin, it emits a maddening light from its mouth that drives anyone who sees it insane. Marco the Oracle was the god of prophecy in the Old World. He shared his visions with all his followers, but even he was eventually killed because of the crimes of the god Gilak. Marco cast an eternal curse upon him and beheaded the serpent god. In retaliation, Gilak's followers declared a holy war on Marco, decapitated the oracle god, and hunted his faithful. After death, Marco's head continued to speak prophecies to those who knew how to listen, but eventually his head was desecrated, and few depictions of his likeness remain. Interestingly, Marco must have known he would lose the war and that his influence would fade. After being beheaded, he predicted that the world would fall into decay and ruin. Perhaps he foresaw that Gilak would be the cause of it all and tried to kill him before it happened, but didn't anticipate that the serpent god would be only half resurrected. In Vermis, there are the Eclipse Towers, scattered throughout the lush forest. Their doors have been sealed since time immemorial. Inside, the devoted strive to reach enlightenment by reciting mantras. Success means falling into eternal sleep, until their heads bloom open, guiding others on the path. However, the enlightenment brought by this light seems like madness to ordinary people. Eventually, they become truly enlightened, turning into beings resembling nervous systems. These creatures emit constant high-pitched noises and can project images into people's minds. There are also the touched ones, those directly touched by the light, who become floating heads of a sort. The idea of light that drives one insane is something we've seen before. The Light Eater from the Green Sun ruins is a creature that simply glows, radiating mind-breaking light. Some playable classes emphasize this connection between the head and enlightenment. The stone scholars wear heavy stones bound to their faces, which grant them great wisdom. In fact, a scholar who loses their stone is considered to have lost their enlightenment. There is also a kind of reverse enlightenment, the Merc Sages, who hide their heads in perfect darkness under massive helms, hiding in shadows and using their powers to create illusions. Instead of using light to seek truth, they use darkness to craft lies. All demons were once gods. It is man who puts crowns on our heads and holds axes over our necks. When Marco laid the axe upon Gilak's head, it was a war in the heavens to strip a god of his divine status. The cult of Marco persisted despite his beheading, but it eventually faded, nearly disappearing due to persecution and the desecration of his remains. Gilak was also in danger. After the eternal curse was cast upon him, his head was lost, but his most faithful follower gave him his own. However, this sacrifice did not lift the curse. The bearer of the curse will suffer a fate worse than death, carrying it for as long as the blasphemer wishes, regardless of their lifespan. "This punishment is still unworthy of your sin," said Marco before casting the eternal curse upon Gilak. Gilak's followers are still searching for a cure to this curse. Worship of the serpent god seems to be the most prominent remaining religion. There are two known main branches, reflected in character classes. Wandering angels, a kind of nocturnal knights who seek the sacred mountain of Gilak. On the mountain, they remove the veil attached to their armor and behead themselves in honor of their god. Bone hunters, they seek bones, especially skulls, to offer to their cursed god. How they obtain these bones is up to them. Some kill the innocent, some commit massacres. Others rob tombs in ancient ruins. Some even attack other servants of Gilak. Throughout the book, the appearance of the Wanderer changes, but he does not know his true face due to his past sins. An incurable curse spreads across his body, threatening to take his life. He battles many versions of himself, finally confronting a monstrous one, trying on many faces to find the right one. By offering his head and accepting himself as he is, the curse is lifted. But the curse of Gilak is not the only one. Kitarith, the god of wrath and decay, has his own curse, the white hive. This horrific disease covers a person in hives, turning them into a living nest of insects. It can be transmitted through bites, from mother to child, or by receiving a ring blessed by Kitarith. In the glass purgatory, located in ruins beyond Oldegar, lies a realm of illusions and curses. Its entrance is a secret wrapped in secrets, and to enter the mirror labyrinth means to relive countless painful deaths inside one's own mind. The purgatory likely lies within Ketrith's domain. Many cursed and horrific creatures have made their home here, or perhaps it is more accurate to say, they were imprisoned here. The purgatory is built around a primal glass at its center, a prison of shattering, endlessly reflecting labyrinths. The illusions are multi-layered. You may be mortally wounded, or even escape the purgatory, only to find yourself returned to the mirror where you saw the vision. This feeling of unreality permeates the deepest and darkest places of Vermis. At the edge of the Forest of Flutes lies the Sanctuary of Shadows, deep underground. Here you can find a ring of Kitarith's blessing. The darkness hides all kinds of monsters, waiting for someone to venture too deep. The infected mines are one such place. They are believed to be the origin of a curse, though which one is unclear. The mines conceal secrets of the old world, deep below the surface. They were once used to mine a rare material known as black iron, a forever cold metal. The minor knights hail from these caves, born and raised in their diseased burrows. There are even cursed artifacts. The most infamous is the cursed blade ogle, a vile weapon wrapped in black hair and moldy bandages. This blade is the place where the ancient demon ogle was sealed. He whispers to his wielder, promising power. But anyone who wields it, or even lays eyes on the blade, dies of fear. Ogol, the great demon, reminds us that all demons were once gods. It is man who puts crowns on our heads and holds axes over our necks. The difference between a god and a demon is merely beheading, the loss of identity.